I find that color photography is a distraction from for the eye and for the brain. There's an old saying that when you take a photograph of someone in color, you're photographing their clothes. When you take a photograph of someone in black and white, you're photographing their soul. I believe that to be true across every genre of photography, including landscapes and that kind of stuff. It's a distraction. You're not really allowing the viewer to see what you want them to see.
So you're sitting around a park bench in New York and you have your camera here. If you had 3 shots around you, what would you take right now?
First, I'd probably take one of you just because I want to record that. That'd be just on that basis. Number 2, I would start to pan around and then I would start to look for lines. That's what I love to do is lines. I look for lines and I look for lines that interconnect with each other or disconnect from each other. That's what I start to look for. And then like today, because we're starting to hit the fall, I would start looking around at colors. There's a little bit of yellows and oranges going on, but those are the first 3 things that would stick out. Then I would start to look for people, and then see if anybody's of interest for me to photograph. I find people rather boring most of the time to photograph because they pose, and once you have people posing, then it comes across as being fake and not real, and I don't like that in photography. I got into photography about 2001, 2002 as the first generation of digital cameras came along. And it became my art form. So my main mission the past couple of years has been pushing the boundaries of what photography is and how we perceive it. I went to culinary school and that was my first artistic foray. And I started off, like I said, not really into photography. I was more of a chef, and some of my favorite chefs are Jacques Pepin, who I adore. Ida Gardner, I love her work, and I also like Martha Stewart's work too, her cooking, her recipes, and I use that a lot. I'm a native New Yorker. Born and raised here. My parents are 5th generation New Yorkers. We're going back to the 1860s on my family side. I initially started off more as a street photographer and moved into the fine art and eventually into the abstract where I am now, and I love this where I am right now. It's my favorite form of photography. Growing up here, New York City, growing up in New York City, you get a different look for it. You get a feel for what the city should be, what it looks like. When I photograph it, I'm trying to take you out of that. I want you out of that, what you think you perceive New York to be, and what you see New York as. I want you to see New York as I see it, as an intimate, almost love affair with the city. I did a photograph in Madison Square Park where the sun was almost about to set. It was just shining down and it was a really long shadow, and everyone was playing, but the shadows were right in front of me, and I had to take a picture of that. And that's one of the photographs I remember distinctly in my mind of doing. The other one I loved, and I have hanging on my wall to this day, I took back in probably about 2016, and it's really where I moved into more of the abstract, really abstract, where you can't tell exactly what I am photographing, but it is of an awning, and it's the lights underneath an awning, and the awning went like this, and I'm shooting from underneath up, looking at it, and the different lights shining on it, and the way it hit, and it came across as very abstract, and it was line orientated, and shades of gray, blacks and whites that went on, and I just loved it, and it became the focal point of my first solo exhibit in New York back in 2017. And I had it printed up as a 6x4, and it hangs on my wall, and I look at it every day, and I still love it to this day, and it's one of my favorite photographs. I do have my favorite buildings, because a lot of my work is building related. I love walking along the High Line, and there are buildings along the High Line, and one of them is done by the female architect Zaha Hadid. That I love, and it looks like a bunch of paint cans that she opened up, and then instead of it being in a circle, it has circles, and then it goes this way, so you get a look. And it depends on when the sun is hitting it, what it does. The Oculus, I love to photograph too. It's just a lot of fun. And I went in there one time when I was like 2 in the morning, and I was the only one. They just opened it. I was the only one, and literally I walked around this building like a child. Just in amazement, my mouth open. Oh my God, love! And I just shot, and I spent like 2 hours in that building photographing over and over different areas and looking for different lighting and different effects that you get from the lighting. My influences range from Man Ray, who's my idol. I adore his work. Leigh Violin de Ingles is my favorite photographer in the world. His surrealist photography is wonderful, and also his photographs. That's my next major project, is going into photographs and working on that area. Photograms is sort of in that genre of, it isn't really photography and it really isn't art per se, but it crosses over into that area. So that's why I'm looking to do more photographs in the next couple of years, and moving more into the technical side of photography. Yeah, I'm trying to move photography out of this world of voyeurism, that every photograph has to speak 1,000 words, and that it has to tell a story. And I hate that they, professors and everybody else I've dealt with in the photography world, have so boxed themselves into that format of that type of photography. I don't think it has to be. I wanted to move more into what I call real visual arts, away from that voyeuristic side of photography. It is a great art form, and don't get me wrong, but it's been so boxed in that even to this day, when I apply for applications, it's, especially in the photography world, it's like, what's your story? What's the story behind this picture? Why do you, so you have to explain yourself. And I don't think art should ever have to explain itself. In the visual art world, I have always been a Dadaist. I love this whole idea of what art can and should be, not being dictated by gallerists as to what art is.